I'm Nate Zielinski, she's Suzanne Andreessen, and this is Uncontested Investing. Welcome back to another episode. We're in our tax and legal strategies theme still here. These are super important episodes for investors, right? There's so many different strategies where they can be getting money back on their taxes. There's a lot of legal protection that goes into real estate investing as well. And this topic is no different. Today, we're discussing the 1031 exchange, leveraging tax deferral to scale. Suzanne, let's start with what is a 1031 exchange for our listeners.
Sure. As a definition, a section of the IRS code allowing investors to divert capital gains taxes when swapping one investment property for another of equal or greater value.
Commonly referred to as a like-kind exchange as well. And it encourages reinvestment in portfolio growth, right? So it's an opportunity for an investor to stay in the industry, be a little bit more aggressive. And if they already have a property, they can double down and take advantage with the 1031 exchange.
And you can always go up. You can't go down in value. That's a key piece to this.
Yep. So you got to keep looking at those properties that are higher in value, expanding your net worth, expanding your portfolio. It's really an exciting opportunity to expand quick and, really see that instant growth with a 1031 exchange.
Absolutely. And so the most components on how a 1031 exchange works is you need to identify and sell the existing property first.
Yep. So once you do that, you're going to reinvest the proceeds into a new property within a specified time frame. Some of these timelines are strict though, so that's why we bring it up. It's important for investors to know about this. 45 days to identify potential replacement properties, and 180 days to complete the purchase. Again, 180 days. So that's roughly 6 months that you have from selling off that initial property to
Acquiring
the new one, right?
and completing the purchase. Not just acquire, but you have to take possession.
Yes.
That's a key piece of that. And then the final piece of that is the use of a qualified intermediary, a QI, to facilitate the exchange. There's a ton of companies out there that can assist you with this to make sure you've done it properly.
Yep. So make sure if you're ever interested in a 1031 exchange, that's step one, right? What financial institution can help me facilitate this transaction? Because you can't go knocking on doors and wasting time if that certain entity can't help you with a specific 1031. So knowing where you can and cannot go with a potential deal is important, especially when you're against the clock with, the timelines that they institute.
The one person you never really want to challenge is the IRS.
Exactly. Yes. Those are three scary letters right there.
Indeed it is. And so the benefits of a 1031 exchange, first and foremost, are tax deferral. It defers your capital gains, allowing more capital to stay invested.
And that's extremely important for the life of an investor, right? We talk about the tax strategies that you can benefit from. The 1031 jumps to the forefront. It's a very popular strategy, and that's one of the reasons why, right? It's those tax deferrals. Portfolio growth as well, right? You reinvest proceeds into a larger, higher value property. So not only are you getting a property at a higher value, but you're getting a different kind of experience, which I think is important. It's really cool for investors to take that opportunity, right? Say you have a duplex that's potentially worth $350,000, and then you want to reinvest that money into a four-family worth in excess of $500. So not only does that property value go up for you and it helps your bottom line in terms of the rental income, but now you're experiencing a new type of property within the real estate investment industry. You're more confident and you can go after similar properties, right? Not everything you do has to be that 1031 exchange jump, but now since you did that 1031 exchange, you're more comfortable with that diverse property type.
Absolutely. And so another piece of this is you increase the purchasing power. Leveraging tax savings to acquire more or better properties. You could, if you have a 2-family or 4-family, maybe you want a beachfront property instead.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things that you can do to put some things into your portfolio that really allow you to diverse what your strategy is.
Yep. And like we've talked about in other episodes during this theme, there's an estate planning element of this as well. So there's a potential for a step up in basis upon inheritance. And what that can do is reduce taxes for your heirs, right? So you're helping the next generation of your family. It might seem a little bit overwhelming if they don't have the experience investing in real estate or handling real estate. And from day one, you're helping them with that reducing tax.
And that's what our end goal is, to make sure that if your plan is to give it to the heirs, now you've done that through a 1031 exchange. It's nice that this allows the inheritance of it.
Let's talk about the types of properties that are eligible for 1031 exchanges as well.
Sure. So that you've got investment or business properties, not your primary residence. You
Important.
may not occupy
Mhm.
this at all. Even if it's a rental property, you cannot rent from yourself at the beachfront. You can't save that 1 week for yourself. You have to have it occupied. You cannot utilize this as a personal benefit.
Now, that's an extremely important distinction right there. And that comes back to the legal strategy aspect of this, right? You want to be protected at all times. So always keep that in mind. These are investment properties only. Commercial buildings work as well, rental homes and multifamily complexes. So, again, we talk about finding those properties at the higher value. That's a great way if you're in the 10 to 15 unit space for a larger multifamily
Sure.
and you want to branch out into commercial. A 1031 exchange could be a perfect opportunity for that.
Absolutely. And there's, we've heard through the grapevine, this is a good time to be buying commercial.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
that's the way you transition to that. And you also have vacant land used for investment properties. You can acquire that and build upon that as a strategy as well. So build to rent still gets to play in this game.
Yep, yep, that's important too if you're looking, again, to garner more experience in the industry, looking to create your own inventory. The build to rent strategy is huge. The ground up construction strategy can play a big role in this as well. And then personal property exchanges, things such as equipment, are generally no longer eligible. So really just focus on those real estate transactions, those properties. Again, non-owner occupied is an important part of that. But there's so many opportunities, even within those investment opportunities, for somebody to use a 1031 exchange to their advantage.
And there's, as we go into some of the rules that segment this strategy, the biggest piece is a like kind replacement. Properties must be held for investment or productive use, as in a trade or business.
Yep. And then the equal or greater value. We really want to hammer that point home. You can't go down the ladder, you can only go up. So just be ready to take on that new property at a higher price point. But again, with the 1031 exchange, it becomes much more feasible and accessible for you to move up the ladder with bigger properties.
And you also must invest all of the proceeds, not to be fully defer the taxes on that.
Yep, yep. No cash or other non-qualifying property can receive, or the taxes may apply, right? So if you want to do this and get the biggest tax break and see the most benefits from a 1031 exchange, that's going to be the way that you have to do it.
And the last of this piece, which is probably the most important component to it, is timing is critical. Missing deadlines can disqualify the exchange.
Yep. So again, want to reiterate 45 days to identify potential replacement properties. So you have to have options on the table for one of these qualified intermediaries for you to be able to fund that property, and then 180 days. So again, that's going to be roughly 6 months for you to complete that purchase. So you want to make sure that you're staying compliant and staying within the rule book here for these 1031 exchanges. That's a really important part of it. I think that was a lot of information packed into a short period of time, but all super helpful information as it pertains to a 1031 exchange. Suzanne and I are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with a lot more knowledge and insightful tips for investors that are looking to tackle the 1031. Stay tuned.
See you soon.
RCN Capital offers flexible loan programs designed to help wholesale partners close their clients' deals faster. From fix and flip properties to long term rentals, new construction, and multifamily investments, we provide your clients with the funding solutions they need. With competitive terms and a quick approval process, we make it easy to focus on growing your business while we handle the financing. Learn more or apply today. Click the link in our bio or email info@rcncapital.com. Let RCN Capital help take your wholesale deals to the next level. Suzanne, this has been a great episode so far. I think we've covered a lot of ground as it pertains to a 1031 exchange, and investors can take this episode and be confident that they have the tools and knowledge to really pull one of these deals off. Let's talk about strategies though to maximize benefits.
Sure. The first one that comes to mind is a reverse 1031 exchange is buying before selling.
Yep, that's huge, right? So it doesn't always have to be the other way around. That there's ways to go about it. Obviously, you want to look into it and find all the details and see if the timelines change at all. But buying before selling is a possibility. There's also using a Delaware Statutory Trust for passive investments, something else that our listeners can look into.
And certainly combining multiple exchanges for portfolio diversification is key. You've got different strategies and certainly different properties. This allows you to really go into a different direction should you choose to do that.
Yep, yep. So if you have, say, two, three, four properties that you're looking to upgrade on, now you can include 4 properties in the 1031 exchange. You get 4 new properties at that higher price point. So as you mentioned, for those looking to pivot strategy, stay energized, look for a new lane in real estate investing. Maybe the market is really geared towards a specific type of property, and you want to jump on that while the getting's good and there's a lot of properties available. That's a great way to do it, right? 4 single families can quickly become 4 duplexes, 4 mixed use properties, you name it, right?
Or a significant mansion on the beach.
There you go.
And that's my plan.
You need a vacation. You got the beach on your mind
I
saying
do,
so.
I do. And certainly planning for the 1031 exchanges in estate and succession planning is a key piece. It's a way for you to keep it within the family.
Yep. And remember, there's tax benefits regarding that as well. So you're really setting up your family to win from day one if you do everything as you should as it pertains to the 1031.
Well, and sometimes, your kids, while you've been an investor their entire life, they may not understand the nuances of it.
Mhm.
But as you transition this to them and the estate planning, they too now have just become an investor overnight and allows them to reap the benefits that you've established their entire life.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Now, there are risks and pitfalls to avoid, as with most things in the real estate industry. Not everything is all benefits all the time. So let's discuss some risks that our investor listeners need to hear about.
Well, the biggest piece is, failing to meet the strict timelines. This investment strategy is one that there's no gray area.
Mhm.
It's very cut and dry. 45 days to find the property, 180 days to acquire it in full. And those you just can't step outside that boundary,
Yep.
or you will disqualify the tax savings.
Not working with experienced qualified intermediaries is another one, right? You're going to make sure that wherever you send this property to, it's somebody that can help you close this transaction. As we mentioned with the timelines, there's really no opportunity for you to waste days or weeks at a time with people that can't help you complete a 1031 exchange. So having a list of those lined up and ready to help you when it's time to complete that exchange is big for investors. It's that work ahead of time that can set you up for success.
Well, and preempt that by, interviewing them, talk to them, ask them what they think is the best strategy, ask them their advice. I have a two-family. What do you think I should do next? And let them give you some feedback. Don't just sit there and say, oh my gosh, now what? I think really a lot of this comes to doing your homework and your due diligence in advance, finding the organization that you want to work with first, determine the type of property that you think you want to go after, and then start the game planning.
Yep. Yep. There's also an opportunity here when you're changing properties quickly, acquiring a different property type that you're not typically used to as an investor. If you're ignoring local zoning or legal restrictions, that's a big no-no, right? So you do have that 180-day buffer. I think some of that, obviously you're going to be looking for properties, but some of that's going to be understanding the new zoning legislation that you're getting yourself into, right? So there's a little bit of time there. 6 months, plenty of time to kind of learn and brush up on everything you need to know as an investor, but you don't want to go into a new property and not really know what you've gotten yourself into from that perspective.
Certainly, and last but not least, over leveraging properties post exchange. You're creating some havoc on what the purpose of this is a tax benefit,
Yeah.
and you don't want to disqualify any of this or miss guidelines. And I think the pieces is first and foremost understand what the boundaries are
Yeah.
and what the requirements are, because I think the whole purpose is to avoid taxes. And not only you're going to have taxes, potentially penalties. So it's a double negative does not make a positive here.
And the 1031 exchange can kind of be used as a ladder in investing in real estate, right? You go from one rung to the next. So don't skip too many steps. Don't try to reach too high on the ladder. Don't go from a $200,000 single family to $1 million multifamily overnight, right? Make sure that you're doing these steps in order. You're ready, you're prepared. The jump isn't too big, right? You can eventually get to that $1 million property valuation with a 1031 exchange, well, you got to work your way up at a steady pace. I think
Sure.
that's important for investors to hear too.
And that's really what understanding what the step up requirements are.
Yeah.
Those are the way, there's a percentage and you need to stick within the boundaries.
Yep.
This is probably out of all the investment strategies, the one that has the most boundaries and pitfalls,
Mhm.
but certainly the one that can also you're using your asset to create tax deferred, tax free strategies and increasing the value over time.
You can expedite your success in real estate investing, but you have to go about it the right way. So that's why I wanted to put that in there. Important caveat for investors to know. And then last but not least, how to get started with these, right? I'm sure we've excited a few of our listeners and they want to figure out and learn all they can and tackle this 1031 exchange opportunity. So you're really going to want to consult with a real estate and tax professional. There's people that work in 1031 exchanges on the daily. So, finding them, getting all the information possible, and really hearing it from a professional, and then having them for advice as you're going through the transaction as well. It's always good to have somebody to turn to and say, hey, I've reached a point in the 1031 exchange that I'm not really that well versed on or not quite understanding fully. Can you help me here? And they'll be happy to step in.
Certainly, of course, and you wanna carefully select that replacement property and make sure that it's matching with your investment goals.
Yep, that's a big part of the process. Ensure all legal and our IRS requirements are met. As we mentioned, those are three pretty scary letters. That's the last thing you want, is the IRS sending you mail, calling your phone, letting you know that you stepped outside the boundaries on your latest 1031 exchange. So again, that goes full circle to the real estate and tax professionals. They're going to be the ones that are going to keep you out of hot water with the IRS. They're important people to have on speed dial as you're going through this.
And finally, keep the thorough documentation throughout the process, just in case the IRS does come and knocking for an audit. You want to be able to substantiate all that you've done, the timelines that you've met, and all the boundaries that you stayed within.
Whether it's an electronic copy or a physical copy, documentation is key. As with most things in investing in real estate, the 1031 exchange is no different. So that puts a bow on this episode. I think we've covered everything we need to. Our investors have the confidence now to take on a 1031 exchange and grow their real estate empire. Suzanne, this was a great episode. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Uncontested Investing. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to Uncontested Investing. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow REI Inc. magazine on LinkedIn and Facebook and RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time.